Hello again, everybody. This is Derek from ScreamingEagleAirsoft.com. That's right, ScreamingEagleAirsoft.com. That's where you can go to get all your airsoft supplies and needs. And today what we're going to do is we're going to do a know-it-all video, this time of the GSG. It is an MP5 style GSG. Somebody I know has brought this gun to me as a project to repair. And so this is really just going to be a repair project walkthrough, show you what's going on, and show you when I figure out what's wrong with it. They'll have a second part where I actually repair the video. This is just the troubleshooting, diagnostic, finding out what is wrong with the gun. Alright, now you've probably watched a previous video where I did an M4S system for somebody I know, and I said that there was going to be a second video on how to repair it and stuff. Well, that person had decided just to go ahead and buy a new M4S, and so he bought a new M4S, and he's running and rocking and rolling with a brand new M4S because there was way too many problems with the M4S that he had brought me. So, and go back and watch that other video, you'll see it had a cracked gearbox, one of the gears was actually broken, a lot of different things. So now this gun, it's the GSG MP5 look-alike. It has a front rail hand guard, and it has a folding rear stock. It has the GSG pistol grip with the texturing. But when I opened it up, I noticed that it had your standard M4 M16 style gearbox. That's what this gearbox looks to me like. It looks identical to a M4 M16 gearbox. Let me move the camera down and show you what I'm working with. But before I do that, let me tell you what we discovered. We'd plug the battery in, we'd pull the trigger, and we'd hear it go, right? And it sounded to me like the motor was spinning, but it wasn't pulling any kind of piston back. So what I was thinking was the gears are messed up, or some teeth are messed up on the gears or the piston. So I have to open the gearbox up to determine if this is the case. When we get it all said and done, put it back together on the second video, what I'll do is I'll actually shoot it a few times and maybe give it a little bit of a review. But right now we're just showing the internals and what I'm discovering for the repair. Let's pan the camera down and take a look. Alright, here's my little workbench, and I'm sorry about the lighting in this room right here. I had to take you down into the dungeons. No, it's not really my dungeon. It's more like a loft. Okay, the lighting up here is not that great, so I apologize for that. I will do through the editing. I'll mess with the contrast and the brightness, try to enhance it a little bit so you can actually see what I'm working with. All right, here's the gearbox. I've already taken it out of the pistol grip. I've taken the buttstock off. I've taken the upper receiver off. Oh, and check it out. It's not the 552. It is the GSG 522. Set all that stuff off to the side because none of that has to do with the troubleshooting we're doing. Here's standard MP5 magazine, moving it off to the side. Looking at the gearbox. Okay, flipping it over. Here we go. There are some, looks like, Phillips head screws that need to be undone. Alright, so this gearbox looks like it's going to be easily removed with Phillips head screwdriver. So, if you're the owner of this gearbox and you are curious about what I discover, just watch on and you will see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen all the screws and not completely take them out. Alright, now before I take out the last 2 screws, I've taken out the 4 screws on the top, 2 here, 1 there, and I've even taken out that little screw there. But before I take out these 2 screws, I want to let you know that I apply a little bit of pressure on this just so that it doesn't pop open because of the compressed spring inside there. I do want to let you know it is wired to the rear. It has a standard CYMA wiring where it gives you an additional Tamiya plug between the gearbox and the power line that's run to your battery. So that leads me to believe that this is a Tamiya. It is Palco / Cybergun, so I think it would be Tamiya also. But it doesn't say Tamiya on the packaging anywhere, and it says .12 on the gearbox. So I don't know what that's all about. But let's go ahead and finish it up by taking out these last 2 screws. I also want to let you know that I've noticed that the bushings, they're 6mm solid steel bushings, which I actually like. They're durable and they can take a lot of pressure. Ball bearing bushings are great if you're trying to go for a lot of rounds per second. If you want some high rate of fire, ball bearing bushings are great. But if you're going for FPS, you want a durable bushings. Okay, I've taken all the screws out. So now what I do is I take a screwdriver, a small screwdriver that can go in the back and hold on to the spring guide while I take the plate off, the top plate. It's holding the spring down. There you go. It's never been opened before, apparently. There you go. You can kind of see the grease in there. And okay, well, let's get this spring decompressed. Give it a little pressure up and out, and there you go. Spring released. Alright, so as you can see, it's kind of really gritty and dirty and nasty in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe everything down with paper towel. I'm going to wipe everything down, clean it all off, set it off to the side on a clean paper towel while I do this. While I'm looking at the gears and whatnot, and like the gearbox. All you got to do is wipe all that out. Now I'm not going to reassemble this for Gerald. I'm not going to reassemble this until he makes a decision on what he wants to do. Does he want to fix it, replace it, upgrade it? Once he makes that decision, then we'll get the right spring guide, you know, piston, whatever else he wants to upgrade. And once he does that, then we'll put it all together, and I'll use my own grease and not this factory grease. He has a ball bearing spring guide. That's pretty, this is starting to get nasty. Nasty! I'm going to use a bunch of these. Just taking a quick gander at these gears. This gear looks good. Dirty, but it looks good. Sitting off to the side. Let's take the spring out. Just wipe it down real quick. Got your spring right here. Yeah, all that grease in there, slowing your rate of fire down. What you need is like a silicone or a Teflon grease. Make it go a little bit faster. I don't know what this factory grease is made out of. Okay, getting my needle nose pliers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the tappet plate spring from the lower part of the gearbox. There you go. So now there's no tension on the tappet plate as I remove the tappet plate, piston, cylinder. There we go, set that right there. And there's the tappet plate spring. Air nozzle clear. Looks good. Looks big. It's not an upgraded one, it's just your stock one. Tappet plate. Looks good. Doesn't even look worn out. It looks stout and solid. And no, whoa, what is that? Hold on. Looking at your tappet plate, you can see this right there. There is a crack Yeah, that's a weak part. Weak port part. It looks like it's supposed to be there, but that's because it looks like it might supposed to be there. But that's the first time I've seen a Tappet plate with that little dent mark right there. I think that's a broken piece of plastic. What we might need to do is get you another Tappet plate. Okay, still looking. See, I was afraid those gears were messed up. Okay, I'm getting to the gears. Trying to anyway. Oh yeah, there you go. Looking at this gear right here, this one I'm trying to clean off. It's so nasty. Here, let me clean it off so you can see it better. But this is where your error, this is where your malfunction happened. It was on this gear right here. Let's get another one out here. I don't know how long this video is. Okay. See, this side of the gears looks good, right? But when you flip it over, get something to point with. When you're looking at these gears, no problems on this side of the gears. But when you get to this other side, right there are no teeth. All these teeth are missing right here. There's about 3 teeth. Yeah, this one's busted in half. These are chewed up. All the teeth from here to there are all chewed up. These are all chewed up, and that's why it was spinning and not engaging the rest of the gears. You can replace just that one gear, or I recommend you get a whole new set of gears, because if that one's failed, the other gears were probably dragging against it, and they're probably worn. I don't see it doesn't look really worn. Okay, it's going to be these teeth. Yeah, these teeth look a little worn too. The inner teeth look just a little worn. I think I would replace all 3 gears just to be safe. But based on everything else, let's pull this. I mean, it's completely coated in this stuff. You gotta. Oh man. They wanted everything to work fine, but they put way too much oil and grease in this thing. But that's kind of a normal thing for an airsoft gun. You'll notice that the first time you open it up, before anybody else has done any maintenance on it, it's going to be coated with factory grease. And that factory grease just ain't good. Okay, this has 1 steel tooth on the piston. Piston head seems fine. Piston seems fine. It's got a little something on the top, which I'm not sure what that is. But the piston looks great. The teeth, nothing looks damaged on the teeth. The teeth look fine. So it's not the piston, it's the gear. And the gearbox, it looks fine. Just completely coated in grease. Better to have some grease than not to have any grease. Okay, pulling some shims out. Put those back in when we reassemble this thing. You can see all that nastiness that's coming out of that thing. There's another one. There's another one. Okay, so my ultimate verdict on this is clean it, reassemble it, lubricate it instead of putting all that heavy grease in there, and swap out the gears. That's the main thing. You just need to swap out the gears. And now you asked if I could upgrade it. I certainly can. This spring looks like it might be an M100 spring. If we go to 120 spring, you'll get a lot of improved FPS out of that. And if we do a heavier spring, we're definitely going to have to get you some better gears. But these gears are actually steel gears, it seems like. These gears should not have broken, but they did. You already have a ball bearing spring guide. I probably want to get you another Tappet plate. A combination of that Tappet plate and that that gear is probably what caused the gear to strip. Alright, well, come back and check out our second video where we actually reassemble this thing and we test fire it.